What's up, guys? I figured since I'm stuck in the house, it's kind of iced in here with this ice storm that's going on, we'll continue marching on through the CD collection. We're still in the D section. This is kind of one of those portions of the shelves that kind of feels like I hit a sweet spot with this particular section of the shelf. There's a lot of good stuff in this particular video that I'm going to show today. First up, we have a technical death metal band out of California. My brain always tells me that this band is from France. I don't know why that is. They are not from France. They're from California. This is Dismal Lapse. This is their debut EP entitled The Nameless Faceless. I believe this was released in 2008, and this is phenomenal. I don't know if you guys have heard of Dismal Lapse or not. If you haven't, definitely check them out. They only released this EP and a follow up full length, and that's all they ever put out. I don't know if they're still together or not, but I would love to hear some more from Dismal Lapse because this EP in particular is just blistering, fast paced. Technical, not overly wanky, just a solid listen. I really do enjoy this one. And I also have the follow up full length to that, which is entitled Eon Fragmentation. That just sounds like technical death metal. But this is just a killer band. I don't know what happened. I don't know if they're split up now or what went on. This came out, I believe, in 2009, and then they've just been silent ever since. But definitely check out Dismal Lapse. If you're into technical death metal that kind of teeters into that brutal side of things, you'll probably dig this because I know I definitely do. So next up, we have a band off of Transcending Records. They are melodic black metal, kind of goes into that almost atmospheric sound at times, almost a post-black sound at times as well. This is a Dismal Limerence with Tome 1. This is the only full length that they have put out. They had an EP that came out prior to this, I believe, or a demo. I have not heard that. This is a pretty solid full length here. I do enjoy this. Has that nature driven theme going on that a lot of bands with this particular kind of soundscape have going on. But I dig this. I think if you're into atmospheric black metal, if you're into melodic black metal, even post black, this is one that you should check out as well if you have not done so. Obviously, I love Mike over there at Transcending Records, so when he puts something out, I'm going to 9 times out of 10 at least check it out. Next up, classic stuff here. The debut full length from Sweden's Dismember, like an ever flowing stream. This is the 2005 uh, remaster, I believe, from Candlelight. It has some bonus tracks. It has Death Evocation and Defective Decay, as long as a couple other bonus tracks on that, but some early demo songs going on this. It says it was remastered from the original recording, so not sure what exactly that means. I think it originally came out in 1993, if I remember correctly. I know it's been out for quite some time. As you can see there, it has like this number written across. I got this from a radio station that was getting rid of some of the stuff. I think it was like a college radio station, and they had this and another Dismember CD that I'm fixing to show, as well as some other stuff, all in this big lot that they were selling. So I had to jump on this. That was like a essential album to have in the collection there. Next up, I have Hate Campaign. This is another one of the uh, Candlelight USA reissues. I think this one came out in 2005 as well. And Hate Campaign, I don't know if I said that or not. I'm a bit nasally. Sorry about that. My wife has been battling COVID this week, and I've tested negative so far, so we're going to hope that it stays that way. There we go. And this one, more of the same with the little catalog number there from the radio station. It's written on this like paint marker pen. I don't know if I could take that off or not. It really doesn't bother me that much. It's not like I'm looking to resell these albums or anything. So, But classic stuff there from Dismember. And then the only other Dismember album that I own is I think this is the last full length that they put out. There's the self-titled. This one was pretty strong as well. I didn't speak much on Hate Campaign. This one wasn't as solid as some of their other material, but the self-titled I did enjoy. This one is pretty strong. I don't think, yeah, this one I purchased separately. It was not from that radio station. That was a purchase I made quite some time ago, so it's kind of hard to remember what exactly came in that particular purchase. But I did enjoy this self-titled full length. I think this came out around 2008. And it's the last full length that they put out, but good stuff there from Dismember. I know I'm lacking some of the material, but that's all that I have of theirs in my collection. Next up, we have a band out of Virginia, Washington, D.C. area here in the U.S. This is Dissenter with their 2020 Plague demo. This is 3 original songs and then a Terrorizer cover on the 4th track. I dig this. I've given away some copies of this to people. I've purchased some extra copies as far as on tape and put them in giveaways. I know that big giveaway that I did with Rick, I think there was a Dissenter tape in that. I know I sent a tape possibly in a VCLT at one point as well. Just solid, nasty stuff there from Dissenter. Kind of not so much old school death metal. It has some of those thrashy vibes and stuff going on in it, but it has a very modern sound as well. I'm going to try to get it back in this plastic. But just nasty, nasty stuff there. Definitely check out Dissenter if you're a death metal fan. Next up, we have some progressive stoner doom. Not so much metal. It's almost like doom rock, stoner rock, and progressive rock. It's on Seeing Red Records. They put out a lot of doom metal and stoner type doom. This is Disrule with Sleep in Your Honor. I do enjoy this. It's very catchy. It's not, like I said, it's not so much metal. It kind of leans more into that rock territory. It's not as heavy as some of the other doom projects that I've heard on Seeing Red Records, but I did enjoy this for what it was. I forget where this band is out of. Kind of escapes the mind, but I do dig this. Pretty good stuff there from Disrule. Then going back to Sweden, we have some more death metal. This is Disrupted with Morbid Death. This came out, I want to say around 2015. I want to say they have one other full length that came out in I think around 2020 that is very strong as well. This is kind of we were just talking about Dismember. There's some definite Dismember influence going on this, as well as some other bands. If you're into bands like maybe Undeath is a good example of a newer band. I think you would be into Disrupted as well. They kind of have a similar kind of sound, like this resurgence, this modern sound blended with those old school pioneers such as Dismember. But Disrupted is very solid. This was released on Memento Mori, so definitely check that one out as well. I need to get my hands on that newest full length that they put out, but unfortunately I do not have that one. Next up, another classic album. We have Dissection with the Somber Lane. This is the 2-disc reissue version. It has the original mix of the Somber Lane. It says remastered original mix, so at least they use the original mix. And then it has a second CD of some bonus materials that have some live recordings, some EPs and demos. I'm going to be honest, I have not even listened to that second disc. I believe there was probably a slipcase on this at some point. Unfortunately, when I purchased it secondhand, it did not come with that slipcase. But there's the inside there, and I don't think there's much going on in that other disc. No. Then there's the bonus disc, and as I said, I don't even think I've listened to that bonus disc. I've only listened to the actual full length. The remaster actually sounds pretty good. It sounds pretty solid. Sometimes I get worried on those remasters if you're going to lose something in the mix or lose something in the mastering of it. But that one does sound pretty solid. And then I have Storm of the Light's Bane. This is another remaster. This one came from, I believe, in that bundle with the Dismember. As you can see, the back part of the insert has been cut. It has the 2 disc. It has the bonus disc. I thought it only had one with it, but apparently it has both of them. So I have not listened to the second one, but this one also has, as you can see, that catalog number kind of written up there at the top, and then there's the extra disc. So that actually doesn't match. This disc that's in here actually looks like one of the original um, Storm of the Light's Bane CDs, so it may just be 2 copies of the album in that. I have not, as I said, I haven't listened to the bonus material, so sometimes I just kind of lean towards the albums themselves as far as what I like. So next up, this is a bootleg. This is Dissection with Chaos Satanist live from the Witchwood, Ashton, UK, 5/2/1996. This is a very raw live recording bootleg. It sounds like someone just had a tape, little like push button tape recorder, and took it there and plugged it in, and or even battery powered, and taped it that way. It's, I mean, I guess it's cool to have it in the collection, but it's not something that I'm going to pull off the shelf and listen to all the time. I think the one listening to this was probably enough. I mean, it was fun for what it was, but it's definitely not something that I'm just going to find myself returning back to, just because it's a bit of a difficult listen with just how raw and and unpolished that is. Next up is a band out of Poland. They are brutal death metal. My buddy Andrew, he's in a couple of Facebook groups that I'm in. He runs a good deal buy, sell, and trade group, CD group on Facebook that I'm a part of. And he introduced me to this band, and I absolutely love them. I don't know how I missed them in the past. They are early 2000s brutal death metal out of Poland. This one is Dissenter. The name of the band is Dissenter. This is their debut full length. This is entitled Bloodlust and Blasphemy. This one's pretty solid. This was not my introduction to the band. The next album that I'm going to show was my introduction, but after I listened to the next album that I'm going to show, I wanted to seek out some more of their material because I absolutely loved everything that I was hearing from this band. This debut is very strong. If you're into brutal death metal, especially that late 90s, early 2000s sounding brutal death, kind of Nile. Um, I'm not going to say that they're, sound just like Nile or anything, but just kind of that general feel. Then you might be into Dissenter. I don't know why I had not heard of them in the past. And this is the one that I was introduced to this band through, and for me it is the strongest full length that they have out. This is their sophomore effort. This is entitled Apocalypse of the Damned, and this one is super solid. Definitely my favorite in their discography. If you look at that picture on the back, that just encompasses early 2000s death metal to me. The guy's got a Nile shirt on. That's funny, but that's just I look at that and that's the nostalgia feel that I get of that early 2000s, late 90s death metal scene. So very fitting picture there. It goes right with what I was saying. I think this one came out around 2002, if I remember correctly, but just a phenomenal release there. Absolutely love that one. If you're going to check out any of their material, definitely check out Apocalypse of the Damned. Then I have their third full length. This is Dissenter with Contamination. This one was released in 2003, so they were churning out the material. This one, it says 2004 on the back, but I'm thinking it was probably released overseas in 2003. This is a Crash Music. here in the States label that put it out in 2004. I think this was originally released in 2003, though. If I could be wrong. Once again, I mean, that's just, you looking at that picture there on the back. I mean, that just screams to me late 90s, early 2000s death metal. They have one more full length that I do not own, and I think the band is either on hold or split up at this point. I'm not sure. I'd like to hear some more material from them, but one of these days I'll get my hands on that last full length as well. Next up, I believe this band is out of Pennsylvania. This is a self-released EP. I think this came out around 2018. This is Dissenter with a Mask of Pretense. Kind of melodic death metal, thrashy, kind of melodic thrashy death metal. They put out a full length here fairly recently. I think it came out maybe in December. That was pretty solid as well. I do not have a copy of that, but what I heard of that, I did enjoy. I think the band self-released that full length as well, if I'm correct on that. But this is a pretty solid little EP here. It's 5 tracks, but just mellow death, thrashy mellow death, good stuff there. Next up, this is a band out of Mexico. This is Dissenter with Catharsis. This is kind of black and thrash, fused in with maybe some crust. There's definitely some crusty sound going on this as well. I think I picked this up from Paragon Records. I either got this from Paragon or Redstream. I can't remember, one of the two, but good stuff here out of Mexico. I do enjoy this one. I think it is their only full length, which is a shame because I heard some good ideas going on this. I would like to have saw where they kind of went on from this, but I don't think they put any. They may have had a demo or EP or something come out after this, but this is definitely the only full length that I've heard from Dissenter. But I did enjoy that one quite a bit. Next up, we have some technical death metal. I think out of Belarus. This is Divided with To Have Nothing. This band only has a couple of releases. This has been out for quite some time. It was released on Satanith Records. It's pretty good. I mean, it's technical death metal. It can get a little tiresome. I'm not the album, but technical death metal in itself, for me personally, it has to be something that when something's overly technical, I just have to be in a mood to hear something like that. And this kind of fits the bill for that. I mean, it's not a bad listen, but it's not something that I'm going to pull off the shelf every day. But when I'm in the mood for something like overly technical, it is something that I can grab, and it will definitely scratch that itch for me. Next up, another band that I absolutely love, at least the first 2 full lengths in their discography. I have all 4 of their full lengths, but the first 2 especially, I absolutely love. It was formed by some members leaving Malevolent Creation, as are a lot of bands. It seemed like Malevolent Creation just kind of fuels other bands, other death metal projects. But this is Divine Empire with Redemption. And this is a stellar release. I absolutely love this. This came out in '98. Some more of that late '90s, early 2000s death metal. That's kind of my heyday for death metal. And I love this album. What can I say? I love Divine Empire. It seemed like back at the time, this album and the subsequent follow up to this both were receiving a lot of hate. It seemed like there were a bunch of negative reviews and negativity going for this back then. Now people have kind of come around to it, it feels like, but I've been in love with this band for years and years and years. I can remember being in high school and jamming out to Divine Empire, and here I am 20 some odd years later. I'm getting old, but I'm still jamming it, so good stuff. And then we have one that can kind of rival that one in their discography is my favorite. I love this album. This one I think was actually my introduction, and then I backtracked to Redemption while I was in high school. This is Doomed to Inherit, and by Divine Empire, obviously. Absolutely love this one as well. This was released on Olympic Recordings. There was some killer. It's got Century Media on there as well. There were so many killer death metal albums released through Olympic Recordings back in the day. That's one of those. If you saw that label on the back, you knew you were probably in for something good. Even back then, Century Media was putting out, pumping out just killer death metal releases. But this one, I love this album as well. I love everything about it, that old school death metal feel, straight on down to that Brad Moore artwork there on the back. I mean, there on the front. I actually have a signed print from Brad Moore of this particular artwork hanging on my wall right now. So good stuff there from Divine Empire. Those two albums I absolutely love. It felt like something changed with the two following albums after that. They just kind of felt like they fell off a little bit for me. Um, we have Nostradamus, which is their third, and this one was also released on Olympic. This one is pretty good. It's just it just doesn't feel like it's on the level with Doom to Inherit and Redemption. This one I can still pull off the shelf and enjoy. I don't get too frustrated listening to this one, but I mean, for what it is, it's a pretty decent album. If I didn't love the first two as much as I do, I don't think I would have been as disappointed with that one. But this one, I just could not get into. This is Divine Empire with a Method of Execution. And this is I believe, their last. This was released on Crash Music. It seems like whenever a band gets to the point where they have all these albums put out on other labels and they get to the Crash Music, it seems like that's where the decline goes. I don't know what it is, but I could not get into this particular release. I can't put my finger on what it is. Possibly the drums, but I don't know. There's just something irks me about this release. Next up, changing gears completely. This one will make some people maybe roll their eyes. This is some very modern sounding stuff, metalcore, kind of melodic death mixed with thrashy metalcore. This is Divine Heresy with Bleed the Fifth. I think at this point there is only one member left of Divine Heresy, and that is Dino. And apparently he's not an easy person to be in a band with, just from what I've I've heard and seen. This one has the Century Media kind of sampler bonus disc right there. A fairly decent album. I don't hate it. I mean, it's okay for what it is. I did enjoy the follow up to that a bit more, and that is Bringer of Plagues. This was actually my introduction to Divine Heresy, so maybe that's why I was a little disappointed when I heard this one. I think there's a lot of people that enjoy that debut more than Bringer of Plagues, but for me, Bringer of Plagues was a better album. I don't know, it just had catchier songs for me that kind of stuck in my head. It is something that I have to have in doses. It's not an album that I could listen to every day. I mean, just when I'm in the mood for something kind of light, something kind of catchy. Um, I don't listen to the radio and that type of stuff, so I mean, this will kind of fit that bill for me. But fairly decent stuff there from Divine Heresy. Next up, we have another South American band. This is Divine Profanity with Abjuratio Mortis. I believe this band is out of Colombia. Excuse me, let me grab a drink. Okay, as I was saying, I believe this band is out of Colombia. Black and death metal, very dark stuff on this. It is just kind of blistering, nasty black and death metal. I do dig this. It was released on Iron Goat Commando, and it was out of Colombia in 2015. I don't know if they have any other material out or not. This is the only um, portion of their material that I own, but I do enjoy this. I think this was actually maybe a reissue. I don't know because it says on here. I think there's a cover song, maybe. I don't know because it has a date on the inside of 1995, but it is a bonus track. So I'm assuming that there is a cover or something that was just like a demo on that, because I don't recognize the name. It's kind of hard to read those fonts, but it has that 95. But I think this album came out in 2015. Next up, we have some kind of atmospheric hard rock out of St. Louis. This is Divine Sorrow with Seven Deadly. This isn't bad. It's very accessible sounding. You can tell these guys enjoy uh, some of their influences and wear them on their sleeve. One of those being Tool, but I mean, it's decent. It's not something that It's not something that's really in my wheelhouse of things that I particularly listen to a lot. I used to go to St. Louis quite often for shows, and that's why what led me to pick this up, just because of familiarity. Not much left. We're about to wrap this one up. I know I've been a little long-winded. Next up, we have another. I think this is another band out of Poland. This is Divine Weep with Tears of the Ages. This band actually started out as melodic black metal, and they are now power progressive metal. And I know that's kind of a bit of a leap to go from one way to the other, but this is some pretty strong stuff. This, as far as power metal goes, and traditional, has that traditional metal sound going on. I do enjoy this quite a bit. Got a steal on this. Still got the price tag on it, $3.99. Very good album here. They had a album that came out maybe 2 years ago. It was fairly recently, that was very strong as well. But I do dig this one too. So I think maybe 2016 is when that one came out. Next up, this one came in that big VCLT box that Marty Worm sent me. There was all kinds of different stuff in there, a mix of all different kind of genres and different stuff. This one I do enjoy. This is progressive metal. I don't really get into progressive metal just too terribly much, but this is a band out of New Jersey that this was a pretty strong release. I was surprised with how much I enjoyed this. This is Divinity Destroyed with Eden and Ashes. Very campy look on that. It sounds much better than you would expect just from looking at that artwork and fonts and stuff like that on it. I don't know. This is one that I would have passed over. It was not one of the first albums that I dug out to listen to in that box that he sent me, but I eventually got around to this, and I was surprised with how much I did enjoy this. It's kind of uh, progressive sounding. It's very melodic. It has some folky little hints and little undertones going on in this as well, but I did enjoy that. And then last but not least, we have some black and death metal. I forget where this. I think they're out of Sweden. It's on Black Lion Records, so definitely a high possibility that this band is from Sweden. I don't think they're together anymore. This is their only full length. It came out in 2016, and I'm pretty sure this is not available anymore. I think it's out of print and sold out at this point. But this is Division Vancine with Dimension Darkness. Just some blistering black and death metal. Has that old school, has a like an old school feel going on in this. Like they did it. It's a band that had their influences deep in old school death metal and even traditional black metal, and they kind of fused those sounds together. I did enjoy this. It's a shame that the band is no longer together. I would kind of interested. I may have to do some digging to see if the members have gone on to be involved in other projects, because I did like the sound of this, and I would kind of like to hear if they have anything else going on. That's all for this video. I've kept you here long enough. It seems like I keep getting longer and longer winded on these CD collection videos, but this one was a good section of the shelf. It was definitely worth talking about because there were some killer albums on this particular section of the shelf. So that's all I've got. I'll try to get another one of these up within the next week or so, just so we can keep it on moving and hopefully get on to the E section before we know it. So stay classy, stay metal, and I will see you guys soon. I promise.